lasted almost 8 months and was directed by Christiane de Roche-Noblecourt, curator of Egyptian antiquities at the Louvre, and by Professor Lionel Ballou, director of the Museum of Anthropology. Eventually, the genuine French passion about Egyptology, as dubbed by a French newspaper, had inevitably sparked a clash of interest among the doctors and the curators. The first casualty was Bukai, who had been totally denied the honor of participating in the rescue of Ramses' mummy. Only after the conclusions of his team's research were made public in 3 lectures, given upon invitation from the Department of Egyptian Antiquities at the Louvre in autumn 1975, and the other 2 at the Institute of Human Paleontology in May 1976. By summer of 1976, Bukai's book, The Bible, the Quran, and Science, was already setting a stir in motion in some Parisian circles. And as Dr. Bukai had been deprived the honor of being at the reception of the mummy, he single-handedly initiated its treatment 2 years earlier. He was denied even attendance at the official farewell ceremony given to the celebrated pharaoh Tuesday morning, the 10th of May, 1977, at Le Bourget Airport. Ramses II died at the platinum age of 90, following a glorious rule that lasted almost 67 years, 1279 to 1212 BC. He had apparently outlived 12 of his sons. So it was his 13th, Mernptah, who succeeded him to be the 4th in the line of the pharaohs of the 19th dynasty. At the time of his ascension, he was probably nearly 60 years old. Mernptah's reign was short-lived, perhaps only 9 or 10 years, as well as rather dull in comparison with that of his star predecessor. According to the Oxford History of Ancient Egypt, he ruled from 1213 until 1203 BC. Mernptah's tomb is marked KV 8 at the Valley of the Kings on the Nile's west bank, opposite of today's Luxor, ancient Thebes. When his mummy was not found in his tomb by 19th century archaeologists, they concluded that his body had drowned and lost forever in the water walls of the Red Sea while pursuing the fleeing Israelites, according to the Old Testament's Exodus. But the theory had been refuted when the mummy of Mernptah was discovered by Victor Loret in 1898 in the Valley of the Kings. The study of both the Quranic and biblical narrations is specifically interesting here, mainly because the 2 narrations share a lot in common. There are certainly divergences, but the biblical narration has a considerable historical value. It does help to identify the pharaoh, or rather, the 2 pharaohs in question. This hypothesis, which starts with the Bible, is complemented by the information contained in the Quran. Modern data are added to these 2 scriptural sources. Bukai singles out one major discrepancy in the narration of both texts regarding the fate of the pharaoh's body. The writer of Exodus tells us that after the Israelites crossed the sea without wetting their feet, the Egyptians pursued and went in after them to the midst of the sea, even all Pharaoh's horses, his chariots, and his horsemen. Exodus 23. And the waters returned and covered the chariots and the horsemen and all the host of Pharaoh that came into the sea after them. There remained not so much as one of them. But the children of Israel walked upon dry land in the midst of the sea, and the waters were a wall unto them on their right hand and on their left. Exodus 28 through 29. So the Israelites escaped, and the Pharaoh perished. But his body was rescued and found, a very important detail not mentioned in the biblical narration. Read in the Quran, chapter 10, verses 90 to 92. Thus we caused the children of Israel to pass in safety through the divided sea. Then Pharaoh and his host followed them in ruthless injustice and aggression, until, when the drowning waters overwhelmed him, he said, I believe that there is no God but the one in whom the children of Israel have believed. And I am now of those who are Muslims, in willing submission to God alone. It was said, now you believe, while before you have truly disobeyed your Lord, and you were ever of those who sowed corruption. Rather today, we shall deliver you, preserving you in your body only, so that you will become a sign for those who come after you, that God is exalted in his power, for indeed, many of the people are heedless of our signs.
Lagi penjelasan saintifik ya tuan-tuan oleh Bukaili ke dia sebut macam tu.
After slaying an Egyptian, fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. Exodus 15. Bukai points out an important detail mentioned in Exodus 23. And it came to pass in process of time that the king of Egypt died. Exodus identifies that king being the one who ordered the Hebrews, by forced labor, to build new cities. And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities of Pithom and Ramses. Exodus 11. Bukai concludes that Exodus, with the returning 80-year-old Moses, could only have taken place during the reign of Ramses' successor. So, one Pharaoh died during Moses' stay at Midian, while the other perished pursuing the fleeing Israelites. Not a single Pharaoh for Moses then, but two. Ramses II, Pharaoh of the oppression, and Menptah, Pharaoh of the Exodus. Having published the results of his examination of the mummies of both pharaohs, freely conducted in the Cairo Museum during 1974 and 1975, Dr. Bukai had headed on the afternoon of February the 17th, 1976, to the French National Academy of Medicine to present a paper entitled Application of Medical Methods to the Examination of Pharaonic Mummies, in which he introduced the conclusions reached by his Egyptian Franco team. His book of 1987, Mummies of the Pharaohs, Modern Medical Investigations, Bukai dissects in detail these conclusions. He says, it was apparent to my colleague Michel Durgon and me that mummification had been carried out with perfect success on the body. Visual examination of it was not enough. However, what we needed was material proof. This we obtained by microscopic analysis of a tiny fragment of the mummy. It was examined under the microscope by Professors Jacques Vigneault and Michel Durgon. They were thus able to show the perfect preservation of the smallest anatomical details visible, the transversal striations of the fibula, as we have already seen on other mummies. For it to have retained these microscopic features to this day, the body must have been embalmed while in good condition. Otherwise, decay and putrefaction would have set in. Bukai continued. The lacuna in the right part of the thorax may well have been the result of an injury sustained during the subject's lifetime. The cranial lacuna is of great forensic importance. Its presence may suggest a craniocerebral lesion received during the subject's lifetime, a fracture with a penetrating wound seriously injuring the brain. In all likelihood, this lesion caused a very rapid death. After grueling research, the final conclusion was reached in Bukai's words. This would have brought on death very quickly, and the body had been submerged before or after the pharaoh was killed. Whatever the case, he does not appear to have stayed in the water for long. I have searched for a contradiction of any kind between our medical observations and the narrations of the Exodus contained in the book of Exodus in the Bible and the Quran. But I can find no argument to oppose the theory I hereby maintain. Given the present state of our knowledge, the only valid hypothesis that can be advanced is that Merenptah, Ramses II's successor, met a tragic end during the Exodus. This has been formally proved by medical examination and fits perfectly with the passage in the Quran on the rapid retrieval of the body.
Itu dia tuan-tuan video yang panjang ini menunjukkan bahawa Muis Bukit, Dr. Mus Bukit meyakini Quran daripada Allah Subhanahu Wa Taala. Dan akhirnya dia masuk Islam, tuan-tuan. Ada orang saintis. Nanti insya-Allah pada masa akan datang kalau saya akan tunjukkan pula apa ni satu lagi saintis yang masuk Islam. Sekian saya rasa cukuplah untuk pagi ni. Mudah-mudahan apa yang saya kongsi dengan tuan-tuan ni boleh memberi lagi keyakinan kepada kita, insya-Allah. Akhirnya saya sebut qulu qawli hadza astaghfirullah li wa lakum. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Buku masih ada ya tuan-tuan, kalau siapa yang berminat kuliah dulu saya bawa tu.